In case you're just joining us, we're looking at the fiscal response from the government. You can see Yomi Olugbenro on the screen. Yomi Olugbenro is the West Africa tax leader at Deloitte. Hello, Yomi. Welcome to the program. Thank you for joining me from Lagos. How is Lagos today?
Well, very well. Good to be on your show. We're all locked up in our rooms and making do with whatever we can do in our bedrooms and sitting rooms.
Okay. Yomi, let's quickly go ahead to your questions because we have just a few minutes. Let me start by asking you, the Finance Act was signed by Mr. President just a few months ago. VAT raised to 7.5% from 5%. Government wanted to raise more revenue, and we saw a lot of things around helping small businesses. CIT dropped from 30% to 20% for corporates, and for small businesses that do not make up to 25 million, they won't have to pay CIT. How is all of this threatened right now with COVID-19 pandemic? And you think that the government should give a sigh of relief, especially to companies, from not paying 7.5% now? Because we've not done businesses, at least for the next 1 month. We don't know what the future looks like.
Well, that's a lot of interesting questions that you raised there. So I think on the one hand, the fact that certain palliative measures were taken itself helpful to dealing with the current realities. So meaning that, you know, the rebate and the relief that's already been given to micro and small businesses in terms of reduced tax rate for the medium players and zero income tax rate for the smaller players. So that will have been part of the things we will have been asking for now. So that's already done. So what we will be looking at will be what other categories and sector that will still require, you know, income tax relief. So individuals will be making claim for, you know, do we get payroll tax cuts now? You know, because these are part of the issues that would then become matters to be considered. And the large corporate, so is there a little more that we can do from an income tax perspective? You know, so but from a VAT, again, the micro players already have their day with the exemption and palliative. But talking about whether the rate should be reversed and whether we should go back, I mean, a whole lot of consideration, because the VAT rate, you only pay VAT if there are transactions. So for the whole of April, for the number of businesses will probably not have so much doing in terms of business and all of that. So whether the rate is 7.5% or the rate is 5%, you need to have business transactions first before you can talk about reduced rate. So in terms of the one that will impact the business, I think focus on personal income or company income, in my view, will go a lot further than just looking at transaction taxes such as VAT.
What government should do now to stimulate the economy? Because I know before COVID-19, a lot of people are being owed by government agencies or government, so to speak. A lot of people at home now, they've not been paid for their contracts. Those contracts, when they are paid, also trickle down to other people in the society. We are not seeing that now. Do you think that the government can also come through that side in terms of stimulating, stimulating the society by paying perhaps those arrears that are being owed? I know you understand what I mean, but you understand me?
Yes, I get you, and I agree. You know, because part of the measures that government will need to take to keep the economy reflated is to ensure that there's a lot of cash, moving in circulation within the economy. The lockdown period will significantly impact businesses. Cash flows are strained, bottom line will thin out. And so part of the measure that the government will need to take to make sure that we get out of this logjam will be to do as much as it can in terms of getting money back into circulation. So that will come in various ways. Sometimes it could be a loan facility that is accessible by some critical sector. Sometimes it could be bailout fund, but also making sure that commitment and debt obligations, particularly to local lenders and to local contractors, making sure that that is defrayed, it will go a long way in keeping businesses flowing. And I'm sure that will be part of the matters on the table for the Economic Sustainability Committee that the Vice President is heading. So it's a call in the right direction. And
speak to me about government stimulus, fiscal stimulus measures. Are you satisfied so far? I spoke to the World Bank just before you, the World Bank chiefs here in Nigeria earlier. They spoke to me about what Nigeria is doing with them, how much and all of that. But are you satisfied so far with fiscal stimulus measures or fiscal measures so far?
Well, I think some of the immediate measures we've taken, particularly if you look at the phase that we are, you will agree that the government deserves commendations. But this is a moving target, and there are different phases that the whole of this challenge will evolve into. So the phase that we are in is a phase where we are dealing with the unprecedented medical, and health challenges. So the biggest move that any government anywhere in the world can make now is measures that are targeted at containing the spread, making sure that we deal with the medical emergency. And so many of the measures that government have pronounced, from the crackdown to lockdown, to some administrative measures that some regulatory authorities have rolled out, including the fiscal stimulus measure that the Minister of Finance did identify, and the pronouncement we had from the Central Bank. You will agree with me that those are the immediate measures that are essentially, critical to containing, and dealing with the medical crisis. But we're going to move into another phase where it will be when the medical emergency is restored, how do we deal with the broader, economic issue? Businesses are going to be facing the heat a lot more progressively as the medical crisis subside. So how do we jumpstart the economy? So what will be the kind of palliatives and the medical stimulus arrangement that will require to get the economy back on its feet? So if we have a declining growth in the GDP and the economy goes into a recession, we need to start now thinking about another, maybe the version 2 of the economic recovery and growth plan. So that's when we can quantify whether those measures are far-reaching enough or not far-reaching enough. My view is that in terms of where we are at the moment, if the focus is on the medical emergency, I think a lot is going on. So, but that won't take us through the whole of the other phases. So there is a short term, but there is a medium to long term. So what are we going to do with the reduction in our total income over a stretched period of time? What are we going to do to businesses that are likely going to lose jobs? What are we going to do to businesses that are going to pack up? How do we deal with the social impact of people that are thrown into a job, and all of that? So it's when a coordinated policy response in the form of a recovery, and growth plan, will come in very handy.
I just have 2-3 minutes with you before I end the show. With what you said, what do you think that businesses and individuals should do right now or can do? That's the A part of the question. The B part of the question also is that how can the impact of the pandemic be managed by businesses and individuals from also a tax perspective? You get me? What should businesses and individuals do? Then how can the pandemic be also managed by businesses and individuals from a tax perspective?
Okay, I think the priority for anyone, whether it's organization or individual, still revolve around safety. It's safety first. So we need to ensure that our employees and businesses will protect ourselves from the medical hazard that is ongoing. So, and we all can contribute. So the government is making a lot of pronouncements. Different organizations are trying to encourage social distancing, hygienic observance, and all of that. I believe every business can do that. Every business needs to show to their employees how people-centric they are and how sensitive they are to the plight of their workforce and their customer and their clientele. So that's part of the immediate measure that they should take. But beyond health concerns, businesses need to now revamping or start thinking about business continuity. So this challenge is going to throw up a lot of disruption to the business space. So how do you guarantee sustainability of your business? Businesses are going to face a lot of challenges with cash flow. They're going to face a lot of challenges with liquidity. The top line will shrink significantly from what the original plan for 2020 was. And so how do we deal with keeping this business, going? What kind of measures can we take, from looking at our capital spend, looking at our recurrent expenditure and our running costs, and all of that? How can we be agile? How can we leverage technology to close gaps? So there's a lot of conversation that should be going on across businesses and across executives on business continuity planning. So how do we deal with it from how it relates to us? So that will be part of the conversation that I believe using different collaboration platform businesses should be using. But from a tax side, if I can jump very quickly to the other side, I think a number of administrative measures have been announced already by government, by regulatory authority, particularly tax authority. Many from federal to state internal revenue services have announced deferral of filing deadlines, deferral of payment deadline, some ways of collecting your returns even when you don't have your audited financial statement. So businesses need to evaluate all of this and take advantage of those measures as they currently exist. The second would be they can also proactively engage the regulatory authorities to have personal conversations, so maybe issue relating to forbearances, maybe issue relating to instrumental payment of tax liability because of cash flow. So businesses can take those regulatory conversation, forward. And maybe one more point would be they could also leverage, getting professional advice, because a lot of things are happening. Different pieces are moving almost at the same time, and it can be very helpful if you, get a professional review of your position, so you can have an advice from a risk and opportunity perspective.
Thank you, Yomi. There's no time. I wanted to ask if we can't get tax holiday or tax break, but that will be for another day. That will be for another interview. Thank you, Yomi, for speaking with me today. All right. All right, that's the much we can take on today's edition of the program. I've been speaking with Yomi Olugbenro, who is the West Africa tax leader at Deloitte. We've been looking at issues around the fiscal stimulus responses by government. And if you joined us earlier, I spoke to the World Bank.